Hi everyone, welcome to the Breakfast and Learn. Today the theme is branding, and we're going to have Marco González with us from Vibranding. I'm going to introduce him in a minute, but first of all, like in every Breakfast and Learn, we're going to do a brief presentation regarding who the Exam Network is and why we are here every month sharing knowledge with you. So the Exam Network is a project that's funded by the Generalitat de Catalunya, and we are managed from Sant Joan de Déu, from the Parc Sanitari, and also from the Research Foundation. Our aim is to bring research knowledge and research solutions and findings closer to the people, closer to the market, and also closer to the public administration in order to make this innovation completely useful for everyone that could need these innovations. We also try to listen carefully to the needs of the people and to the needs of the market and of the administration in order to bring this knowledge back to the research and innovation sector and push for an innovation that's really based on the needs of the people. Here you can see some of our members. So we are, our members are research groups from the main hospitals, universities and research centers in Catalonia. And you can see here all of the institutions that are members of our network. In the following months, we're going to have Rosa Maria Vivanco from Aquas and Miguel Estruc from Viromi, sharing also their knowledge in the upcoming Breakfasts and Learns. Rosa Maria is going to share the job that Aquas is doing in the adoption of innovation in Catalonia in a follow-up of the Breakfast and Learn that we did with BioCat a couple of months ago. And Miguel Estruc is going to share with us the knowledge of their company in how to connect with the private companies to share our services when we come from the research sector. And I'm also really happy to talk about this huge milestone that we're going to have in June. That's the first mental health investment forum that's going to take place in Barcelona and we think in Spain on the 12th of June, where we try to gather together investors and also innovators from the Catalonia area in order to find funding for these innovations that are being developed in our area. And now I'm going to present Marco. Marco is the founder and the creative director at Vibranding. I hope I'm saying it right. And he has been in the industry for more than 2 decades. And he first started as an advertising illustrator and as a graphic designer. And he has also worked in many projects as an art director over the years. In 2014, he founded Vibranding, where he has been the creative director of the company for 10 years now. And he says that nowadays he spends most of his time leading the design and strategy in most of the projects of the agency. So Marco, welcome. The floor is yours. Welcome. And we are really excited to hear about what you have to explain us regarding branding and communication. Thank you.
Welcome, folks. I'm very excited to be here and to talk about one of my passions, branding. So a little bit about myself now that it is already introduced myself. So when I was so a little bit going back, when I was at primary school, I was and not listening too much. Turns out all that trouble wasn't for nothing. So it gave me the skills and the hunger to learn how to unlock my creativity and express myself through art. So this led me to design, to go to school to learn design, and you know, when I was not hitting the books, I was also drawn to the energy of street art. So I've been doing, you know, several murals and graffiti and all of that. You know, with all of those things, you know, and studying, then I realized that I really enjoy the part of the strategy in design, and is where I definitely get into the communication industry as a designer and so on. I'm gonna share my presentation. Hopefully I don't mess this up. Okay. Let me know, guys, if it's showing correctly.
It's showing. It's showing perfectly.
Awesome. Well, before I forget, just thanks a lot, Texan Network, for having me here and give me the opportunity to talk about my my things and branding. That it's what I love. Today, the idea of the talk is to be focused on the principles of branding, so anybody can start their own journey, having a better understanding, so you can get the right help from the right professionals and scale your project wisely. So we don't want, when we started with a branding project, we don't want to start over and over. So we want to do it only once and do it properly, and then consistently grow the brand, right? So I like to describe branding from these 2 points. One, it's like the design and the creative process that shapes the perception of your brand, is where we are crafting a unique and memorable the identity to help shape the perceptions of your company in the minds of your customers, aligned with your company's values, mission, and personality and things like that. And another very important part is the strategy and also the roadmap. I like to think in branding as the master plan for the strategies and the tactics that keep your brand always focused with your business goals, and that is effective and efficient in the way that messages, all the visuals, and also behaves. So what is branding about? For me, those 3 things are like kind of the 3 key parts that we really need to work on a branding project. And one of the biggest is personality. So everyone has a personality, but not the ability to express and communicate it correctly as a brand. So it's very important to take time to build a bold and genuine one, because it's a big part of the fundamentals of branding. Then we have the purpose. So we have to define a thoughtful and meaningful purpose that it will attract like-minded customers or audience, and motivate also your team towards something greater than just profits. So in the end, it's the purpose is just like the compass of the brand. Everything is built around. And then very important is to have a system. We need this system to articulate how all the so it's going to be very easy to maintain and to be consistent in a sustainable way. So we are not like improvising all the time. So when I have a very clear direction, so we have a system that it's going to help us is to be focused on that. Again, a genuine, we are looking to build these 3 things in branding, right? So the genuine personality, a meaningful purpose, and a holistic system that provides guidance to articulate the brand. branding is about brand expression, right? Why brand expression matters? Because with expression, we're gonna gain recognition. So a unique brand expression helps you to stand out in a crowd market. We're gonna going to create connection. So customers emotionally respond to a well-defined brand expression, fostering loyalty, and we're gonna build trust. So consistency is how your brand presents itself, builds credibility and trust, right? So, well, find your brand's inner spirit animal, right? So branding is about finding this spirit animal. It's also about to find which, things like your personality archetype we relate with. Also, our attributes and values. Things like tone of voice that, having a tone of voice that represent us. So, and then we can start translating from that in designing all the brand assets. Things like, a brand identity, that it's the foundation of how, our brand presents itself, like the logos, colors, typography, chosen typefaces that reflect your brand's tone and style. Things like photos, illustration, the style of the photos, brand voice, key messages. I mean, a lot of things, right? And then once we have this system put together, then we can start applying these assets to things like a website, a packaging, and any other stuff. Also, those things, they're gonna be connected to the company culture and the way we behave as a brand. So it's not only how we look, it's the way we behave too. So yeah, in the end, it's about being yourself and be authentic, not trying to be like everyone else. So what is more effective in branding in the end is, find your own personality and how you represent yourself, and strategically thinking what is going to be the best way to do that. Okay, so going again to the basics of building this purpose, right? So in the end, the purpose is very important because it's kind of the reason why the company exists beyond just making money. It's just to contribution to the world. So it's very important that you're gonna take time, to define this correctly, and even synthesize it in a way that it's gonna be, kind of inspirational for the others in the project or your audience as well. So a clear purpose will infuse your brand with meaning and attract like-minded customers in the end. So the system is like, again, your brand architecture, for example, is the way we're gonna build the brand and the services underneath. How also in the system, we're going to have the visual identity guidelines. Maybe we're going to need a copywriting style guide. So maybe we're going to need some putting some documents with the tone of voice and key messages. So this is all part of the system. So there is many things. We're going to see some examples, but this is all part of it. So your brand has to be everywhere all the time. So we need a system that it's going to help us to move easily everywhere, and thinking on it of it like we're doing an invasion. So we need have our everything ready to scale. So in practice, because this is what I'm talking, it's all for now a little bit abstract. So I have like these two slides. One in any, so to start any project, a branding project, we're going to be building basically the brand pillars. That it's the pillars we're going to need to build all the strategy. So we're going to have to work and define things like mission and vision, like the purpose again, personality, the brand architecture, brand territories, brand positioning, how is our audience, like brand personas, competitors, the mindsets, unique selling propositions, things like that. I mean, it's very broad. Normally, we need like those pillars because then when we make any strategic or design decision, is going to be based always in those pillars. And then the brand assets, it can be that holistic. I mean, it's like, it's not only the logo, colors, or things like that. It can be just how it's going to be the composition, how we're going to do all the writing, all the copywriting in the company, how is, if we are doing an interactive piece, how it's going to look, how is our style in animation, how it sounds, the movement, materials. This is, this big thing that we like to have it in under control, very well designed, especially if we want to have a high performance brand. So now I'm gonna give you like final kind of tips before we go to the Q&A. So, well, it's gonna be a little bit of different messages and slides. So yeah, this is a very important thing. Branding is like an investment. It's not an expense. So if we think in branding like as an investment, we will consider our brand like something that it's gonna be performing better in this modern world with nowadays branding is very, very competitive. Yeah, and another advice is trying not to skip branding because it's a cost. So cutting corners with branding will not work. I mean, you're gonna spend a lot of time working in your project, probably investing not only time, but money, dreams, energy in the end. And if you are not taking responsibility of the branding, you might waste a lot of time. And so there is so branding can help you to reach your audience way faster, and keep a little bit of the weight you have to do to explain yourself. So and yes, we already know that. So be yourself, everyone else is already taken. We don't want to look like the others. And also don't be obsessed to try to be loved by everyone. So you have to be yourself, and choose wisely who is you have to attract, and and make a big statement, because we don't want to look boring, or because your audience will have zero problems to abandon you when another shiny new thing comes over. So yeah, sometimes it's good to be different. So yeah, don't be shy, unleash your brand monster. Consistency. So we already talked about a lot about consistency. In practice, things like using obviously the same visuals, the same style, the same colors, the same language, behave always the same way, having always your own opinions, things like that. It's gonna help you, to be remembered. And when people remembers you, then half of the work is done, because you don't have to start from zero again. So you can keep building on top, right? And branding is the long game, not a lottery ticket. So consistent investment on your branding, it will be paying dividends for years to come. So if you spend the time, and you probably gonna have less stressful moments along the journey if you scale the thing and you have a roadmap with it. And this is pretty much of the presentation. I don't know. It's gonna be like it's been 20 minutes or more. I don't know if it's being too long.
No, it's been perfect. Thank you so much, Marco. If you can stop sharing the screen, then maybe we can see each other's faces for the Q&A. Thank you. So thank you so much for this overlook on the whole branding scenario. I don't know if our public has some questions. Otherwise, I'm going to start. I'm really interested in those big slides that you shared with a lot of buzzwords. Some of us don't know the meaning of a lot of these concepts. So if we are beginners, what are the main buzzwords that we need to know? And what should be our focus?
So I think any project should be starting, when we are talking about the brand pillars. Any company, we're gonna call this in a different way. So there is, in Spanish, some people call this like plataforma de marca. I mean, we're gonna find different approaches to that, but we're gonna need to have said correctly what is our mission and vision as a brand. We need to build this, when we talk about brand architecture, I think it's one of the places where all the companies made mistakes, like having, all the structure, defining the services, the brands, even the sub-brands sometimes. Sometimes companies have like 3 horizontal brands. So, it's pretty complex. So it's really easy to solve, but it's important to get it right from the beginning, because the way we're gonna be then later on scaling with products or more sub brands, it's gonna depend on this brand architecture. So we don't want to make something weird that it's not gonna be well designed to make it grow in the future, or that it's gonna be like a mortgage when then you don't have flexibility, or the brand is not it doesn't work. Things like the names are the naming of the brand is very, very important, especially when we start and we put a name. We have to make sure that it's available to trademark, because it's not only registering as a business, but we really need to trademark the brand, because we want to protect the brand in the future. What happens is you are building the company, you're putting the service in the market, or the products, and then you realize that the name that you like and you start from the beginning, it's already trademarked. It's something very complex. So the names have to be, you have to make sure that you can trademark those names, and you're going to be able to protect those names in the future.
Okay, so if I get it right, I need to have like a very clear idea of who I am, and also I really have to find a really good name to name this idea. Is that so?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, correct. Because from there, then you can go to build the rest and start thinking on, the purpose, personality, brand territories, your brand essence, things like that you don't need to define all of that. I mean, sometimes you're gonna need one or the other. It will depend on the nature of the brand, also the market you are in, also the budget you have. So you can't build everything from the beginning. So you have to use your budget wisely and say, oh, with the budget that I have, what's the thing that it's more urgent? So it's good to have good advice to start from a professional, because normally if it's an honest company, we like to tell you what is going to be more effective. Look, in your scenario, I would spend my money in that or that, because it's the best way to maximize the investment, and also not throw it away, because sometimes your brand is not mature enough, and you're gonna start building things on top that you're gonna have to start doing again, because you probably are still evolving. So you have to also think where you are at. So this is why I think it's a good idea to talk with a professional, even paying for a consultancy fee or something that it's going to be very little, and you get a good understanding of which direction to take.
Yeah, I think this is a key learning, that we have a lot of buzzwords and a lot of concepts, but it doesn't mean that we need to have them all clear and have them all worked out before we say that we have like our branding put together, that it depends on the project that we're doing. I think this may cause some relief to some of our researchers and entrepreneurs. So you have worked, I think, with a lot of entrepreneurs and with a lot of startups. And I would like to know about the main mistakes and the main learnings that you have developed through the years of working with entrepreneurs.
Yeah, so the common mistakes are always coming from the trademark. So that is nearly, but for me it's like the first thing that I ask, because if you don't have the trademark set, you know, it's because even another common mistake is coming to me in a hurry. Oh, I need this and I need this done in 2 months. And it's like, okay, do you have a trademark of the name? Oh, I like this name. Okay, because in 2 months we're probably not going to be able to have this done. So planning ahead, having the right help is very important. And also there is other companies that they didn't have the project mature enough, and they have the budget and they did everything from the beginning. And then they had to, so that in a year, or, you know, the project evolved so much that they had to change completely everything. So this is another common mistake. So timing, it's very important, because I don't want to sell, as a branding agency, we don't want to sell you everything and you spend a lot of time on, you know, and spend a lot of money in things that maybe you don't need, or you don't even going to know how to use them, because there is also, you know, once you have all the creative part done, you're probably going to need someone who's going to help you to do all the you know, launching over a year or more, you know, and keep growing the brand. So it's not only dropping something and that's it. It's what has happened after. And so, yeah, planning, very important, and yeah, and trademark, absolutely.
Okay, so Judith, go ahead.
Sorry, I don't know if I missed that, and I am not an expert. Iris is the expert on that in the exam. But I was wondering, so when you are working on the trademark, so is there any good practice to do that, to co-create the branding? So if you are not a research project or a startup, but something like a bigger initiative, like a hub, like something like this, so how can you test your trademark with the community and so on? Or just the professionals and the team need to be in this part? I don't know if my question makes sense.
I'll ask you a couple of questions. So do you mean you want to check if, for example, the names are available legally?
Not the names, but if you are reaching the target that you want. So if you are like creating the trademark, maybe you have like the super idea, and then you go for the presentation of the project, and it doesn't make so much sense. So maybe is there anything that you can have all the stakeholders that they are gonna be included in this big initiative to do that, or not? You just go straight forward and test it.
Yeah, I mean every
it's a difficult question. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean it's difficult because every project is always different, and it's not that, you know, there is a lot of elements, like it's going to be an international thing, it's going to be a local brand, so definitely the brand strategy has to be built to start making some decisions about the name. There is some names that they have nothing like, so in the nature of the name, there is nothing to do with the strategy, but it can be aligned. I mean, it's like an empty glass. Normally, with a logo or a name or thing, if it sounds correctly with your demographic and your audience, and it's not like a mortgage, because sometimes you don't want to describe what you do at that specifically moment, you can you can use a name that it can be something that it doesn't have even a meaning. So because you later on gonna fill with meaning and all the rest. I don't know if I answer this correctly.
Maybe we are a bit contaminated on this, because we always think about a name that means something. So, and from the research projects and so on. So we always work with an acronym, but maybe we need to forget about that and be open-minded on it. Thank you.
Yeah, another of the challenges is sometimes you want something that is going to be connected with the meaning or something that it's connected to the activity or to the product or things like that, but the market is already so full of trademarks around that it's not going to be possible to trademark, or it's not going to be convenient because
something.
So sometimes the strategy can be, look, we have to have a completely funny name or whatever, because we don't want to be connected to or we can't have a trademark with something like that. So yeah, you have to have a look how is the market and things like that.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Marco.
Thank you, Judith. And for everyone, don't be shy. We have Jordi Urdiales that's sharing a question from the chat. You can also do that. You can either intervene or just write your question on the chat box. So Jordi says, hi, Marco. Thank you for your presentation. I would like to ask if it's hard to change your brand image for the public. For example, if you gain a bad brand reputation, and if that's the case, can you give us some tips to deal with this brand crisis? Do you think it's easier to change your brand or to create strategies to deal with the reputation? So he's asking about changes when you already have a bad reputation. And I also wanted to ask regarding changes because you realize that maybe the brand that you thought defined you does not define you because maybe you were too fast in the beginning or whatever and you feel the need to change. So both scenarios, if you could share your knowledge on that.
Yeah, of course you can work in your reputation. Also you have to take some actions to improve that. It's not only changing something superficial. So sometimes, it's but yeah, you can choose both. I mean, changing a brand, depending of the damage, it's gonna be more complicated or less, depending on what's the issues, because there is simple problems that being honest and realistic and changing things and communicated correctly and being real as well and not trying to hide things, you can definitely overcome those situations. And yeah, but I think it's something very. It will depend on why when is the brand bad reputation coming from. Definitely. So you have to study a little bit the problem and find the right solutions, I guess.
But if I come to you, like I had a huge crisis and I want to change my branding, would this be like something that happens often, or would you like say, yeah, it's a good idea or a bad idea?
Yeah, we do it all the time, but we I don't. I mean, I should have to have a look to the existing. So how is this problem? But if you change the branding and you don't fix the problem, and you change the brand and everything, maybe in the end, people is gonna know anyways. So I like, and this is something very personal, but I feel like as a branding consultant, I always like to say the truth, like I'm being very honest, and because from there it's easier to change things rather than I'll change everything, I hide my past, and well, it will end up. I don't know if it's possible. Maybe it's a strategy, but it's just it's difficult to know.
Yeah, it can backfire. It can backfire really easily.
It can backfire. So so when you do something wrong, it's better. I think it's better to deal with it and face it, and and take some action and say, look, I did this wrong. I wanna. It's not gonna happen. Never again.
And when you didn't do anything bad, what's your experience with like brands that were not like really well built, or that they no longer like serve? Like how can we do this transition? Or for instance, it had happened to us and to other fellow researchers. You have already like gone all in, and you have already, I don't know, your Instagram page or your Twitter profile, and then you start to think about maybe it's not the best images that I'm using, or it's not the best language that I'm using. How do you go back from that when you have already built maybe like a small community? So how does it work? How do you do that?
So it's when you are doing a rebranding, that it's as an agency, we always, all the clients that come to us, there is nobody coming with a perfect scenario. They all coming because they brand is not have any sort of problems, and then you are not gonna be one day I turn the lights off and then I turn the lights on and it's the new branding. You can plan it, and if you have the budget, that's perfect. But what you do is like having this roadmap, this system where you're gonna be transitioning from where you are, so where you wanna be. Then this is why strategy is so important, because we are not, so in branding, what we're doing is working with limitations. We don't exist if there is no problems, because so all the brands are coming from doing the things completely in a wrong way, with bad names, with bad photos, with horrible logos, and all sorts of things. But it's never too late to change, because even if you have a really big brand, it just anytime you can start and change all of things really quick. It's just to have a master plan to it. So having a good partner, it's key if you want to have a good rebranding, because you're gonna save a lot of headaches. I feel like yeah, trying to save money with branding, it always goes wrong, because you're gonna end up paying in the end double because the damage is, because you are trying to avoid those expenses or the investment of branding. Yeah, it's a little bit of a problem in the end. It's like going to the doctor. You don't want to go to the doctor. You don't want to, until you are falling apart and you have to go to the doctor because you can't. Yeah.
So the floor is open for questions, but you have now talked about partners, professional partners, and in your experience, what are like some tips that can help us to identify like a good partner for us? Because when you step in the world of communication, marketing, branding, it's all like big names, and sometimes people are like really niche, so they can talk a lot about strategy but not so much about branding, or not so much about design, or they can help you with something but not with the other thing, and maybe you start like getting lost, like, okay, so where do I begin, and how do I identify that this professional is going to take my hand and lead me like in the direction that I personally need, or my company or my project needs?
I think I would, these days, obviously, we are all on the internet, and I think I would do my research and compare, all sorts of different branding studios and consultants, and having meetings with them and looking their portfolios, all the case studies, and trying. What happened to us is the clients that come to us is because they saw like another projects that they have like similarities to their projects. We need a little bit of facts, like something that you can truly recognize. So I would analyze with time all the portfolios and having meetings with them. So you can't choose a partner for branding in a couple of calls. I think it's important to have a meeting with them. We always explain our process. We show you the work we do with other companies, and also if we are not a good match, because sometimes we have people reaching out that maybe the nature of the project is not a good fit for us. So we don't have any problem to say, look, maybe you have to find someone like this, even in terms of dimension, because maybe you are too big or too small. And I would say try to find something that it's a good fit in size, but also they have a good portfolio, good examples, that they approach branding in a holistic way. They could, they approach this like in a creative way, but also from the, good, it's strategy driven. Asking questions.
A lot of questions and research. I think our public likes that, so we should be good.
Yeah, I think sometimes people, they want to buy a car and they spend months looking the car like this, or if the car has that, or a computer, or I need those specs. I don't know. It's you have to spend the time. So you're gonna make sure is a good fit for you, because
Yeah, I think with I don't know if someone has a question, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question, if I can ask.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Go on.
Okay. Thank you for the presentation, Marco, and Iris for organizing these presentations. So my question is if there is like a question list or like a checklist that can guide you through all the process of branding. So like, you know, some questions about like, as you said before, about if it's something national, international, this kind of thing.
I mean, yeah, I think those days there is plenty information on the internet that you can find, that you're gonna see very clearly all the steps. Even lately, I was, asking Gemini or Chat of things to start, and then having a one-to-one, like with a real professional, because I think sometimes having a call with someone is not going to cost you any money, and then you can start the things right, because so but there is plenty of information on the internet those days, and a lot of checklists and things like that. They are good. Yeah, I don't know. I might have to publish one for you guys.
Yeah, that would be really, really helpful, actually, because sometimes you don't know what you need to bring forward when you begin a process like this. So if you have like a starter checklist, it's not that it's going to save you from needing help from a professional, but maybe you can start thinking about the right questions. Because yeah, you were saying regarding ChatGPT and other AI tools, now it seems like an easy process to create a logo or to create like a color palette. And there's some knowledge behind maybe that you need to have before like creating a logo or having like a color palette that makes sense with what you want to convey. So yeah, I think it's actually pretty useful to have some key ideas that you need to think about. So if you were able to share with us some kind of list, it would be great. Otherwise, I'm sure there are plenty tools on the internet, but if you could like curate like a small one, it would be like a treasure for us, and then from that we can build with the relevant professional.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that I want to mention about AI, what I wouldn't think is I'm going to use AI to build my brand. For now, it's a no. We'll see in the future. We need the humans for now to make the decisions. It doesn't mean that we don't use to be more productive. We use obviously AI tools every now and then, but to define things like it's that simple, but colors and things like that. There's a lot of factors that maybe you need a proper person who is understanding, and it's understanding the project before you choose things forever.
I don't know if we have one last question. No. Okay. So I wanted to ask regarding these. So what I was thinking when we were talking in this conversation and also previous conversations we've had is that I was thinking in my mind, maybe like beginning like a branding process, it's like if you take your brand or you take your company to the psychologist or to the coach, and then you have to bring out like a lot of things you really never thought about yourself or about who you are and what you think. And that's why I was thinking it was a really good idea, this checklist, because sometimes it's not enough with the hour that you have with the branding specialist, because there are like so many things you really need to think about and decide about your project or your company. And I wanted to ask you about this experience of coaching brands and coaching entrepreneurs. Is it challenging, and how does it work, and how can we make your work easier? So what are the things we need to think about earlier?
I love to be a brand therapist. I mean, I really love to, and I'm happy in the position of helping others. Saying that, it's sometimes it's soul crushing to see everyone falling the same mistakes, and a lot of projects. How hard is to be an entrepreneur and a startup and have success. So most of the time, and I don't want to sound negative, but the normal is like to fail in the project. So unfortunately, I have a lot of that. So we are trying to put whatever we have to success, but the branding by itself is not a guarantee. I mean, a warranty. You're gonna need to make a good, to be good in business, to have a great product, to be a good marketer, good on sales, to have great connections, have luck, things like that. Definitely in a good scenario, if you have a good branding, you're gonna really notice the difference. But if you have a lot of issues, branding is not gonna save you. I mean, I wish, but it's like trying to have back practices on marketing and trying to telling lies and things like that. It's just not gonna work. Yeah.
Well, thank you very, very much for your time, Marco. We're going to finish now our Breakfast and Learn. Thank you, everyone that joined us in this smaller Breakfast and Learn, but really interesting and really full of learnings and of tips. I hope we see each other next month, and the other one, and the other one, and the other one. And Marco, again, thank you so much for your time, and let's keep in touch. If you can share with us this small list of tips, and if someone wants to approach Marco for questions or for more detailed feedback on your projects or whatever, we can help you with the connection. And well, have a really nice week. See you soon.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.